Thank you. You tell me when to go. All right. Good morning. Let's try that again. You know, we got to wake up and be lively. It's mid-morning. These teams worked really hard to make sure you have great presentations while you're here. So let's try it again. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Fantastic. So we get 12 minutes together. This is a meaty topic that's really hard to cover in 12 minutes, but really, at the end of the day, I want you to really get a good understanding of the difference between business continuity and disaster recovery. Oftentimes, people use these terms interchangeably, so I want you to think about them differently. And in any case, I also want this to be something that you participate in, so feel free at any time to chime in with your thoughts, questions, etc. Real quick, my name's Theresa Miller. I am the Director of Technology Advocacy at Cohesity. I'm also a part of many of the IT communities out there, the vExpert program, Microsoft MVP, Citrix CTP, etc. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. All right, so what are we going to cover? I already touched on this, right? We're going to dive into what these two mean. And from there, we're going to dive into some of the best practices from a high level that you can take back to your enterprises and apply conceptually and even likely when you're implementing your technology. And then we'll do a quick wrap up. So real quick, just so I have an understanding of your backgrounds, who here is an architect that's deploying these types of technologies? Okay. And then who here is more manager, director level? And who else do we have here? Are we C-level? What did I miss? What is, so support? Okay, supporting these types of workloads. Okay, so who's doing support of these? Okay, perfect, awesome. All right, so what is business continuity? Can someone tell me what you think business continuity is? Right, so it's about keeping the business online in the event of a disaster. So essentially, it's this higher level approach, even just conceptually, right, to make sure that those critical applications come back online according to your SLAs. That doesn't necessarily happen with DR, and I think that's why we sometimes conceptually get them mixed up. So in terms of disaster recovery, this is actually the methods and procedures. So this is what most of you are doing. It's kind of that back end, making sure that there is some form of a failover. And the business continuity piece is making sure it comes online in a certain period of time. So let's talk a little bit about types of disasters. So here I have just a few pictures, right? Disasters come in all different forms. I actually worked at an organization where we had the fire drill, and nobody ever considered the fire drill scenario where there might be a fire in our 12-story building. And you know what? Everybody's working. Everyone's in the office, but we're all being evacuated. So who's actually going to trigger the DR failover that needs to happen in that moment? So disasters come in all different forms. The other thing I want to call out, I did some research on weather disasters this year. So this year has been one of the 5th highest for weather disasters in history. There have been over 9 different major events that were over $1 billion in cost to organizations. So I think weather is important to consider here as well because it's so unpredictable. All right, so question for all of you. What's more important, business continuity or disaster recovery to your business, and why? Okay, so you're saying both, and why? That's a fantastic example. I actually worked for over 10 years doing IT healthcare. And so in that environment, you have patient lives on the line if something goes down. So business continuity and disaster recovery are even bigger than just the financial impact. There's a life on the line potentially that could be impacted. Anyone else? I think everyone loved your answer. All right, so here are a few of my best practices and things that I want you to think about, especially in support and deployment roles, even in those senior level and director roles, right? We want to care about what's the cost of business downtime if something is down for an extended period of time. So your business critical application goes down. What is that going to cost? Now, it's going to be different for every organization here, but some of the research shows per hour, that could be anywhere from $100,000 per hour all the way upwards of $540,000 an hour. And so, you know, when we're sitting there working really hard to get things back online, we're not thinking about this. But I think it's important to now have top of mind because your business is losing money while you're working to solve that problem. The other thing to keep in mind is what are the recovery SLAs? How fast do you have to bring something online? What are the business expectations? They're different for all of you. I've worked at publicly traded companies. I found that this was even more critical in that space because the investors are looking at that dollar, how much has been lost. And then having prioritization around which applications are most critical. Most organizations come forward with Active Directory, DNS, but healthcare, you also have a patient care application, or if you work in financial, you probably have a trading application. Where is the money being made? Those things need to come back online as soon as possible. Have a plan. So who here has a disaster recovery deployment? Okay, and so for those of you that don't have disaster recovery, why don't you? Okay. Until something major happens. Yeah, so you hit on a key point. I'll repeat it here for the group. And that is oftentimes that, you know, you get something kind of deployed if you're lucky enough to have it, but it always seems to be the item on the budget, in the budget books that gets cut because you don't need it for day to day until something critical happens. And unfortunately, it's going to be that critical event that causes the excitement and probably finally gets it to happen. So I think it'd be really important for all of you to try and think about how you could put forward some form of justification. Does the business really understand that if something can't come back online, how much money is going to be lost, even per hour? So it'd be really interesting for you to start those conversations to potentially drive something forward. And so that ties into having a plan, right? Having a plan for backup and actually even recovery. Recovery can be as simple as just having a backup and recovery solution, but even better if you have the back end and the infrastructure to do disaster recovery to support that overall business continuity, reducing that downtime. In terms of design and implementation, budget. So again, just if the budget piece is so critical. I know we just talked about it on the previous slide, but do what you can to support that initiative. Do a write-up, do some research, or get the right people involved to support you in that effort. Then, this is probably where you all get excited, right? You get to choose a solution. You get to do the research into what solutions can help support business continuity and disaster recovery for your organization, and then you can implement it. And then this piece sometimes goes by the wayside, and it's that testing. So make sure that you architect your DR business continuity strategy in a way that it can be tested. One of the organizations I worked with, that did disaster recovery really well was we actually had, this was a little bit before cloud, right? We chose to do colo. So we had a colo in a totally different region of the country. And we actually did quarterly testing and did the business continuity piece with that. We brought the business into that testing to make sure that their applications were working, because we don't always have those answers. We don't use those applications. Your business users do. So here are my key takeaways for you today. I know that you're doing mostly support, but it really is important to understand what the business needs. Your role is important to this. Understand which type of recovery you are planning for. So is it just as simple as backup and recovery? Again, that's not going to get you business continuity, probably not going to get you to the DR, but that's the first step, right? Have a disaster recovery plan and align it with business continuity. And then, I can't stress this more, make sure you have a test plan. Do it as frequently as the business will allow. Quarterly would be amazing, and if you can do it more often, even better. So thank you all for attending today. I will hang out a little bit in case you have any questions. Again, we didn't have a ton of time to dive deep, but I have deployed solutions around this in the past, so happy to take those offline. Thank you, everyone.